If by now you're seeing this hello world from the test branch value, that means your last Bicep deployment using the test parameter file was successful. If not, go back, take another look, and maybe you missed something. Alright, so how do we know this actually is from the test branch? Well, I put this there myself so that it varies from main branch, as well as this subtitle, which is coming directly from the test parameter file. So far, so good. Now what? Well, in a real world scenario, you'd have different environments, right? You'd have your testing, production, and so on. Each of these environments requires a different setup and different configurations. How do you accommodate this? Well, this is exactly what I'm going to show you now. In the first deployment, we were trying to emulate a testing environment setup. So for that, we used the parameters.test.json file and passed these properties through. And this went and overwrote the branch to get the code from to test from main and set the subtitle text to something random from here. Okay, great so far. What about production? Well, to emulate the production environment deployment, we're not going to pass a branch value, so it should set it to default, which is main, but we're still going to override the subtitle text. Before deploying the Bicep with these new parameters, let's go back to Azure and have another look. So under our last deployment, we can see the inputs that all came from that test parameter file. That's great. Let's move on to the app service and go to deployment center. Here we can see all the code or deployment related information. So it's still connected to the test branch and it's pointing to the external Git repository of Hello World. That's great. So far so good. Let's go back and now deploy our production environment. So we're going to use the exact same command, except this time we're going to remove the confirm and set the correct file name here, and good to go. Since we know everything's good, we don't need to confirm, we're just going to go ahead with the deployment. Now, I know this is deploying and all, but I know for a fact that it's not going to work as expected. The code in the main branch is different from the test branch, of course, and that never gets applied. Why? Because the surface on its own is automatically supposed to detect that the branch is different and the code is different. So hey, I need to bring this new code in, but it just doesn't. I don't know what it is. I think it's just a bug within Azure that is coming from the source control service and it's just not working correctly. So to kind of bypass this, we need to go back to the app service, go to the deployment center, and manually disconnect this connection that we have set up before to the test branch. Because right now the deployment is actually complete. This is now with main branch and the new production environment parameter values. But if you go and refresh this page, it's still the same. Nothing's changed. Well, the subtitle has changed because this still goes through. It's an environment variable, but the code itself, since this part is hard coded, it never changed because this is still the code from the test branch and not the main branch. However, this should now resolve this. So now the connection between the app service and the test branch is removed. And then if you go back and retry the deployment, we should be able to get this done correctly. So my experience so far with code change detection has been pretty great. Now, granted, I've been really working with containers and not as much focused on the source control type of pushing. So container images and all that is good, I guess, but if you need to use this, it's probably not ideal to use this, and maybe if you're looking for a way to deploy your code, finding another method would be best. Alright, so deployment is complete. Let's go back, and this time, if you refresh the page, it should be set, deployment connection should be set to main, perfect. And now if you refresh, we should see the new code. Just the hello world part. Perfect. Perfect, perfect. That's it. Easy as that.